IELTS Vocabulary for Pie Chart Description, Writing Task 1. Understanding pie chart language. You must demonstrate a variety of language in the IELTS Academic Writing exam. When describing pie charts, a variety of fractions and percentages are good. You should also use phrases to show when a number is not exact, such as roughly, just under or just over, for example. Here are some language examples to increase your flexibility when describing pie charts. Percentage, fraction. 80%, 4/5, 75%, 3/4, 70%, 7 in 10, 65%, 2/3, 60%, 3/5, 55%, more than half, 50%, half, 45%, more than 2/5, 40%, 2/5, 35%, more than a third, 30%, less than a third, 25%, a quarter, 20%, 1/5, a fifth, 15%, less than a 1/5, 10%, 1 in 10, 5%, 1 in 20. Percentage, qualifier. 77%, just over 3/4, 77%, approximately 3/4, 49%, just under a half, 49%, nearly a half, 32%, almost a third. Percentage proportion, number, amount, majority, minority. 75% to 85%, a very large majority. 65% to 75%, a significant proportion. 10% to 15%, a minority. 5%, a very small number. Useful phrases for pie chart task introductions. The pie chart given shows the percentage of. The chart gives data on the proportion of. The pie chart on the left shows the ratio of, whereas the right-hand one gives data on the share of. The chart at the top of the page gives statistics on the fraction of. That, while that at the bottom illustrates figures related to how much 3 categories of. The diagram given shows comparisons of statistics related to the numbers of 6 kinds of. The illustration given includes statistics on the amount of 4 different types of. Description of what you notice about the pie chart. There are a wide variety of different percentages. Huge variations can be seen in the proportion of. The biggest difference between the two pie charts is that there is a noticeable variation in how many. The light-colored segments represent the number of, while the dark-colored ones give data on. There are more differences than similarities between the amount of and how much. In 2 of the 3 pie charts, there are 3 segments on each chart, starting first body paragraph. According to the darker segments of the chart. From the information given on the upper pie chart. Looking at the data related to. If we look at the 3 largest shares shown on the chart. Second or third body paragraph. Turning to the remaining segments of the 2 charts. Moving on to the right-hand chart. The other pie chart, the second chart, the lower pie chart represents. In contrast to the proportions in the Americas, the statistics on Eurasia show. Compared to the numbers shown on the bottom chart, those on the top one. As for the other figures, stating proportions, percentages, sizes of segments. About, approximately, more or less, roughly a half of the chart is taken up by. Just under, nearly, almost, slightly lower than, a little less than a third of the total consists of. Above, just, over, slightly, more than. Percent. A half, a third, a quarter, a fifth. 2/3, 2/5, 2. 3/4, 3/5, 3. 4/5. Dominates, is dominated by. The vast majority, most. The second largest segment, namely. A huge percentage, proportion, share, fraction, amount, number, of. A large percentage, proportion, share, fraction, amount, number, of. A substantial percentage, proportion, share, fraction, amount, number, of. A considerable percentage, proportion, share, fraction, amount, number, of. A small percentage, proportion, share, fraction, amount, number, of. A tiny percentage, proportion, share, fraction, amount, number, of. 1 in 2, in 3, in 4, in 5, in 6, in 10, in 2 out of every 3, every 4, every 5, every. The second smallest percentage, proportion, share, fraction, amount, number, group, of. Describing similarities between pie charts and segments. The two pie charts are extremely, very, fairly, similar. This segment is exactly, nearly, half, a quarter, as large as. Similarly, the more recent data shows. The main similarity between the two pie charts is, the biggest similarity between the data in and is that. The most obvious similarity between the pie charts on the two sides of the page is. The clearest similarity between the earlier and later data is. A major similarity between East Asia and Latin America is in the number of. Describing differences between pie charts and segments. While the top chart, the bottom one. The segments connected to electronic goods, whereas those connected to furnishings. The most obvious, main, biggest difference between the right-hand pie chart and the one on the left is that. In contrast to that segment. In complete contrast to the three largest segments. The largest segment is 1.5 times, twice, 3 times / times as large as. The next biggest segment is not, nearly, quite, as large, as. Comparing the two segments, the two pie charts, we can see that language for describing changes to pie charts. From the first to the second pie chart, this segment's share of the total. Grew grown, by. Percent / times, substantially. Expanded, by. Half, by a third, by. Twofold, threefold, fourfold / fold. Shrunk, by. Percent, slightly, considerably, dramatically. Nearly, more than. Doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Remained unchanged. Overtake, overtook, overtaken, passed, surpassed. Reached, a new share of. Matched, reached the same number as. Describing positions of the pie charts. The upper pie chart, the top chart. The lower pie chart, the bottom chart. The right-hand pie chart, the chart on the right. The left-hand pie chart, the chart on the left. The pie chart above that. The chart below that, the pie chart under that. To the left of, to the right of, next to that pie chart is one which shows. In between those two pie charts is one with statistics on. Exercise 1. The charts below show the percentage of water used by different sectors in Sydney, Australia, in 1997 and 2007. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Answer. The pie charts above illustrate the proportion of total water consumption by various sectors in Sydney, Australia, from 1997 to 2007. We can observe from the pie charts that the food industry accounted for the highest percentage of water consumption. Besides, there was a dramatic increase in the water consumption ratio by the service industry from 1997 to 2007. In 2007, the food industry witnessed a slight decrease of 7%, and the building industry, which earlier used 5% of the total water in 1997, dropped its water consumption ratio to 2% in 2007. Meanwhile, the water consumption by the manufacturing fell significantly in 2007, at 11% respectively. On the contrary, the service industry and household sectors dramatically expanded their water usage in 2007. The service industry surged its water usage from 13% to 25%. At the same time, The figures for household activities moderately rose from 19% in 1997 to 21% in 2007. Thanks for watching.